we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, black people? What's happening? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. I want to say good morning to everybody, and also let you guys know it looks like the stock market's starting off a little bit slow today, but it's still very strong overall. Those of you who've been investing are making good money, and I congratulate you. If you're a student in the Black Business School, I will be doing a special lecture real soon this week. The masterclass meets on Wednesday night, so if you'd like to join the masterclass on Wednesday nights and view all the recordings, feel free to go to drboycemasterclass.com. That's drboycemasterclass.com. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Corn, how are you? Hey, good morning. Is that Mocha Fabulous? What a great name. That is a fabulous name. What is up with this black political party? Well, the black political party, man, is Jay Morrison's idea. I've had people for years talk to me about a black political party and, get me to do something. But the thing is, I kind of like staying in my lane a little bit, in the sense of I already jump out of my lane a lot, and I really don't want to be I just don't want to be deep in politics like that. But I like what Jay's doing. I think that his party, called the Black Rights Party, is better than what I've seen from the ideas thrown around about like the Black Lives Matter Party and stuff like that. And I just like it. I like it because we see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, and I just believe in things like sovereignty for black people. So I'm probably more in that black nationalist, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey-ish, Harriet Tubman kind of space, Muhammad Ali-ish space. I'm not so much in that whole, like, let's hold hands, sing "We Shall Overcome" and hope we can integrate our way to freedom space. I've never believed that you can own your own house by moving in with another dude. I just never believed that moving in another man's house is going to be the same as having your own house. Like seriously, so I would just say be very careful. When white folks come bearing gifts, just realize that moving into somebody else's house ain't the same as having your own house, or getting inside their car and being a passenger in their car is not the same as building and owning and driving your own car. So just keep it 100, be smart, think it through. Let me tell you guys what I was thinking about today. Hit the thumbs up button, by the way, if you're watching anywhere on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Please share this video. This is important. There's some brothers I want to support. There are 2 black scholars at the University of Virginia, which is a very good institution. My mentor, Dr. Tommy Whitler, taught at UVA, and he said great things about it. I had another friend named Melinda Hightower who went to UVA Law School. She actually became the national president of the Black Law Student Association. And I was like, damn, I knew you were smart, but shit, that's amazing. And anyway, UVA is a great school, and these brothers were doing their thing and going through a tenure battle. And tenure, if for those who don't know, tenure is like when the university basically decides they want to make a commitment to you. Tenure is, you come in, you're maybe what they call tenure track. That's like dating somebody before you decide if you want to propose or marry them. So your tenure track, and then you apply and you fill in all this paperwork, and they decide that they want to promote you. They decide that they think that your work is worthy enough for them to make a long-term commitment, value you, which automatically you know where that's going to go, right? You know where that's going to go because they've never valued us. They've never valued black people. And why do I know the tenure process really well? Well, most of you who've been following me for a while know that I spent a lot of years teaching at Syracuse University, and I had a really messy tenure battle that became very public because I just said, look, I looked at your track record. You're very racist. You haven't tenured a black person in my department in 100 years, literally 100 years. Why in the hell do you think that I'm going to leverage all my time in my career trying to please somebody who's proven themselves to be unpleasable? Why do you think that I'm going to spend my time trying to prove to somebody that I'm qualified to do my job when you've proven beyond any reasonable doubt that you're not qualified to evaluate me? And I told that I went to talk to actually my dean, who happened to be a black man. A lot of times they'll put black people in strategic positions to hide their racism. And I just told him, I said, you know what? I said, I'm not doing this. I said, you white folks, y'all playing this game. And I was talking about him too. I said, I think you get me more than other people because you happen to be black. But the fact that they like you so much, makes me not really trust you, right? And so I said, why the hell you think I'm gonna let these white folks, these entire committees full of white people, decide if I'm worthy or if I'm not? I'm not a white supremacist. I don't put white people on a pedestal. I don't let white people evaluate me. I said, I feel like a black man who's in court being judged by an all-white jury. I'm not going to put my future in the hands of a bunch of racist motherfuckers. I'm not doing that. And I told him, I said, you know what it reminds me of? I said, this reminds me of, because I loved fucking with them, because they weren't used to a confident black man. They used to Negroes scared, like, oh Lord, master, I hope that you approves this of me, sir, because and I said, I'm not doing that. I said, you know what it reminds me of? I said, it reminds me of when I was 7 or 8 years old, and these white ladies at my public school would come to my mother with these fancy charts and graphs and shit and statistics and say, you see, Mrs. Watkins, the average children are here and your child is here, which means that your child needs to be put in with the retarded kids, and your child needs special education, and we also need to put him on drugs. See, so there's no racial bias in this. And now you walk by the room full of the so-called slow kids. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Give me a yes in the chat if you've seen this. Some of y'all are educators. I need y'all to let me know I'm not the only one who went through this. You walk by the room full of the so-called slow kids, and it just happens to be filled with black boys. It just happens to be filled with young African-American males, right? That's why Malcolm X said only a fool would let his enemy educate his children. Malcolm X told y'all that. He told you that you crazy to hand your children over to the people who hate them. You hand your black son over to people that love exterminating black men, that love filling their prisons up with black men. Now remember, this is a training ground. The prison pipeline is real. So that room full of black boys in special ed, that's nothing more than a precursor to a room full of black male prison inmates 10, 15 years down the line. That's a holding cell so that they can just detain them and drug them up until they become old enough for them to send them away to the penitentiary. Am I telling the truth or am I lying? Give me a yes if you understand, if you've seen this. If you ever go visit a prison, go visit a prison. I went to visit a prison in Detroit. I visited a lot of different prisons over time. I went to visit a prison in Detroit, and we walked through the yard, and I was there with Ryan Mack, Dr. Christopher Emden, and a couple other people. And I said, my God, man, I said, this prison looks like an HBCU. That's what it looked like. So these people are not qualified to evaluate you. And so in my own tenure battle, that's what I said. I said, I'm not playing this game with you because I know the game is rigged for you to win. I know that I'm a great scholar. I know that I'm good at what I do. How do I know? Well, because all the black students are coming to my office because they want to learn from me. How do I know that I'm great? Well, because I've done things that these white folks can't even dream of. I've been on CNN 50, 60 times at the time, whatever. I said, how do I know that I'm a great scholar? Well, because my work is having what they call scholarly impact. I'm doing work that is changing people's lives, and I'm not going to let some mediocre white motherfucker tell me that that's not true. Like, seriously, that's what I'm laying this out here for you guys to help you understand that sometimes, it doesn't, don't get me wrong, you got to work hard, you got to put in the time. Some people use racism as an excuse to be lazy. Some people use racism as an excuse to be inferior. Some people use racism as an excuse for the things they know they need to work on and get better at, right? And none of us are perfect. But at the end of the day, I said, I'm not going to let you do to me now at the age of 34, 35, whatever, 36, whatever age I was. I'm not going to let you do to me at the age of 35 what they tried to do to me when I was 8. When I was 8, I almost fell for the shit. I almost fell for the banana in the tailpipe. I almost let you convince me, you damn racist bastards. I almost let you convince me that I wasn't good enough. And luckily, I found myself, and I went on to become the only black man on the planet to get a PhD in finance during the year 2002. In the year 2002, tell me if I'm wrong. I've looked it up. I have not found one other African-American male anywhere on the planet or female to get a PhD in finance in the year 2002. It doesn't mean I'm better than anybody, but I definitely wasn't the kid who should have been on the little bus. Maybe your dumb ass should have been on the little bus for not being able to identify black talent. Maybe black talent just comes in a form that you can't comprehend with your tiny little Neanderthal brain, and it doesn't allow you to identify that a lot of these black boys that you're classifying as, needing special ed, needing to be on drugs, screwed up or dysfunctional in some way, you're diagnosing them with this fancy, these fucking 5-syllable words you learned when you went to Yale. Maybe these black boys have a type of talent that is just beyond your comprehension. Right? So maybe you are the one who needs the therapy. Maybe you are the one who needs the medication. Maybe you are the one who is infected with so much white supremacy that has caused you to have inferior skills when it comes to the evaluation of black talent. Because I'm going to tell you the truth, at the end of the day, ain't nothing more amazing and more extraordinary than black people. But then, because we are the original people, we are the original man. But then number two, ain't nothing more extraordinary than the African American male, African American female. Why do I say that? Well, do you think that your ass with all those recessive genes you got in your gene line could have survived the Middle Passage, where half the people died on the slave ships? Do you think that my ancestors did? Do you think that anybody in your gene line could have survived the slave dungeons, which were so disgusting that the feces piled up, 2, 3, 4 feet high, and people had to live in that shit for weeks at a time, waiting for the slave ships to take them to a place they'd never been? Do you think your ancestors could have survived that? I don't know, but mine did. Do you think your ancestors could have survived 250 years of the most brutal slavery in the history of all mankind? I mean, do you think your ancestors could have survived that? I don't know, but I know mine did. Do you think your ancestors could have survived Jim Crow? No, but mine did. Could your ancestors have survived mass incarceration and still came out shining? Still come out doing things ain't nobody ever done before? Still doing things that are setting the world on fire? I don't know, but mine did, right? There's no other group of people I can think of or anywhere that I've ever seen that can go through what we went through. And then literally within less than a decade, you literally a decade after slavery, you've got black scholars writing big, thick books and doing and inventing things. And I mean, we're pretty amazing people, right? So my point is to say this. Look, you as black people are these extraordinary people that unfortunately are being managed by people who are not as extraordinary as you. I would say mediocre. I might say inferior, but I'm trying to be nice today because it's a Monday morning. But seriously, it's like going to a job. You ever been in a job where you're better at your job than your manager? You ever been in a job where you're smarter than the person that you work for and you got to take orders from a dumbass? Like that's what I think the position that black people are in, is that a lot of you are in positions where you're taking orders from a dumbass. You're putting leverage and weight into these evaluations from people who are just simply not qualified to evaluate you. So I just broke it down logically to my boss at the time. I said, Syracuse University has never in 100 years given a promotion to a black man or black woman in the field of finance. So that clearly shows that they're racist. I said the Ku Klux Klan could not have a worse promotion and hiring record than Syracuse University. So why in the hell do you think that on any planet, I as a scholar, I'm pretty smart, I'm pretty good at analysis, why do you think on any level that I would think that they are even qualified to even evaluate the quality of what I'm doing? I said, no, I'm not playing this game with you. I'm just not. I might sue you. The only reason I didn't sue him was because I just didn't really want to waste my life suing inferior people. I felt that God gave me a bigger mission. I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe it sounds cocky, but I really felt, I said, I want to go out here and I want to conquer the world. I want to go out here and I want to do things that are amazing. I want to change my community. I want to see if I can, have an impact on that Marcus Garvey level. I want to have an impact on that Malcolm X level. I want to really get out here and really do some damn things. And I don't think you can win big battles when you spend all your time and energy fighting little battles. So I said, rather than fighting this little university up in the north that still has to confront its racism, and if you don't believe me, just go Google it. Go Google Syracuse University and racism. Every couple of years, they have all these racist incidents, and they're so stupid that they're like, we don't know how this happened. We don't know whether. Well, I was telling you, you stupid ass. I was the canary in the mine trying to help you, but because the racism comes with ignorance and arrogance at the same time, you never listen, and that's why the same incidents happen every year or two, right? So rather than fighting this dumb little battle with these dumb little idiots, I decided, I'm gonna go fight a bigger battle. I'm gonna go do other things. If I'm truly as good at what I think I am as I think I am, then I should be able to go out here and be successful somewhere else. And it worked. I mean, I did fine. Like, I made 10 times more money than I ever would have made as a professor. I've been able to go all around the world and impact the world in amazing ways. And so, so you will survive. Now here's the thing though. Here's the thing. The reason I'm talking about this case in Virginia, and this is what I brought up, I brought this up at the beginning of the live stream, and I want to make sure I address these brother situations, is because, we have black folks that are still in these institutions. I think I'm not necessarily a fan of that strategy. I think at the very least, every black person, including scholars, lawyers, all you professional Negroes out here, how many of y'all are professional uppity Negroes like me, got all the, letters behind your name, PhD, JD, MD, BA, BS, and all this other shit behind your name that lets you think you're better than other people? You have to really rethink your reality. You have to rethink your reality, because one of the things I saw with scholars in particular, and I see this a lot in other professions, is that the professional Negro is in many cases least qualified to survive on his own than almost anybody else. And a lot of that is because you're wired into the system. You're wired into a white supremacist system that doesn't value you. And if they chop you off, if they blackball you, if they cut you off, you don't know what to do. You're stuck because you've never learned how to make money without the assistance of a white man. When I'm talking about them, I'm talking about myself. That was my realization. Was I said, man, it's crazy that I can't imagine, a way to make money without a white man giving me a paycheck. I said, my God, I am such a white supremacist right now, in that I really truly believe that their acceptance, their approval, they're sort of allowing me in and taking care of me is my only method for survival. And so somebody made an interesting quote on Twitter that I think is really powerful. I think you should pay attention. She said, in 1865, black people owned 10 times more land than they own right now. But she said, but we got degrees though. Right? So you got these little certifications given to you by white people, and it makes you feel better, it makes you feel more secure. But the question is, are you really secure? Are you really safe? Like, do you really feel here's one measure of security. Do you have the ability to walk in and cuss your boss out and still know you're going to be okay? If the answer is no, then that means you probably have a couple of things to learn. Doesn't mean that your degrees aren't, it doesn't mean your degree's worthless. Doesn't mean you didn't accomplish anything. Doesn't mean that you're not a special Negro and all these other things that you wanted to do. It just means that maybe you were given the wrong benchmarks of success. Maybe you were taught to play the wrong game. Maybe you were, as I explained to my cousin who borrowed money from me for the third or fourth time in a row, I said, man, I think you got the wrong hustle. I said, the reason you're struggling consistently is because you hustling at all the wrong stuff. So anyway, let me keep going. Let me keep reading. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. Also, make sure you subscribe to drboycetv.com. It's the home for intelligent black people. And also, in a couple of days, 3 days, we got Black Movie Night. You guys know that we're making black movies. We want to create an independent black-owned Hollywood. And so we made a film called The Black Love Blueprint, directed by Dorian Chandler. And we're going to show that film on the 25th. So if you want to register, you can do it for free. For free, go to blackmovienight.net. That's blackmovienight.net. Somebody please type blackmovienight.net in the chat so other people can see it, so that everybody can come join us. We're building an industry, and hundreds of thousands of people are watching these movies. So so we're doing the damn thing. We're getting it done. So anyway, so here's what the article says. Let me read more of this article. I got into this other part of the story, but I want to make sure these brothers' story gets told. No one is guaranteed tenure, but two black scholars at the University of Virginia who are appealing negative tenure decisions say their processes were significantly flawed and that their work they were hired to do appears to have counted against them in the end. Beyond flawed processes, the accounts raise questions about possible racial bias on the part of all white tenure committees and other key evaluators. So you got these all white committees evaluating black people. That you're fucking up right there. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Would white people be comfortable in situations where it was all black people evaluating them? Would white people be? Give me a yes or no. Would white people be comfortable in situations where all white police departments were controlling their communities? Give me a yes or no. Would white people feel comfortable if every job they applied for, pretty much had a black person that was deciding their economic future? Would white people be comfortable with sending their children to schools where they're going to be managed and controlled by black people all the time? Seriously, I mean, you got to flip the script and kind of think this through, and just kind of, I point that out. It's very basic, but I point it out so you can really understand the sheer insanity of the system that you committed yourself to. You committed yourself to insanity, but you think it's normal because that's what you grew up with. You're no different from the dysfunctional child who grew up with a sick, alcoholic, drug addicted parent, and you think that that's normal. You think it's normal for your mama to not pick you up from school because she was at home smoking crack, right? You think it's normal for your father to molest you while you're sleeping, right? You think that all this is normal, so you're really kind of crazy. We are all. Racism makes you crazy because we know it makes white folks crazy. It definitely makes black people crazy too, like the coronavirus. Anyway, so in this way, the cases echo the recent Blacken the Ivory Twitter campaign, in which black academics recalled having their work questioned and their contributions undercut more than their white colleagues. So what they're referring to, and this is a good hashtag, Blacken the Ivory, is they're referring to a lot of what they call microaggressions. Microaggressions are just all these different ways that white people are mean to you and they don't even realize it, and it's because they're biased. Now, I have a different perspective on microaggressions in the sense that I kind of believe that you have to be thoughtful about the fact that you're trying to go into somebody else's house and change the rules. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I will just tell you that if you come in my house, you're not changing any rules in my house. In this house, like on my birthday, let me tell you something really corny that I did. On my birthday, everybody I saw that day, I said happy birthday to you. And they were like, why are you saying happy birthday to me? I said, well, because I like giving gifts more than I like receiving gifts anyway. And I figured that in my house, I would declare my birthday to be a national holiday. So in this house, Boyce Watkins Day is a national holiday. And every person in this house, your birthday is a national holiday. And I said, that's my practice at Black sovereignty. Like we always sit around and we say, gosh, I really hope that the white folks makes Juneteenth a national holiday. I hope that they make it a that's fine, right? But I'm like, no, why don't we decide that it's going to be a national holiday? Why don't we decide that that's what it's going to be, right? So I'm going to tell you right now, I declare right now as the president of Intelligent Black People. You guys elected me not too long ago, all right? So right now I am the intelligent of Intelligent Black People, the president. So I'm going to pull out my Vicky Dillard gavel. Hear ye, hear ye. I declare that in our community right now, you got to practice being empowered. It ain't just going to come to you. You got to practice. Like when I take the teenager out to drive the car, you got to get your practice at hold controlling the steering wheel or you're going to crash the car, right? So I'd like to take a vote. I propose that we declare Malcolm X's birthday a national holiday. I propose that we declare Harriet Tubman's birthday a national holiday because she was the ultimate liberator. She wasn't scared to pop a cap in a motherfucker to get her liberation. God bless her for that. I propose that we declare Malcolm X's birthday national holidays. Oh, and then we could throw in Juneteenth for good measure. And, maybe 5. Dr. Claude Anderson, who wrote Powernomics, one of the greatest books of all time. So we got 5 national holidays. We got Marcus, Harriet, Malcolm, Juneteenth, and Dr. Claude. All those in favor say yes. Just put yes in the chat. Let me know so let's see. I see yes from God's. Is that God at GDSNQ? It's time to stop asking for permission, says Maurice. Okay, so I take that as a yes, Maurice. Hair Butter Connect 100. All right. Nikki share. Okay. All right. So we're getting some yeses. All right. So the yeses. It looks like the yeses are overwhelming. It's a landslide. So by the power invested in me by intelligent black people around the globe, I now declare all 5 of those days to be national holidays. So I've hammered my gavel, and court is dismissed. So we got 5 new national holidays, y'all. We got to go tell the white people. We got to go inform them because they're a little bit behind sometimes. It'll be like their Juneteenth. Like Juneteenth, we found out that slavery ended like way after it actually ended. Well, we got to do that for them. Like let them know, like, hey, we're liberating you by giving you these 5 great national holidays. So it might be on the same day as one of your like favorite white people, but they're like probably racist and probably rape black women and stuff. So we're gonna help you. We're gonna take them off the roster, and we're going to replace them with these 5 holidays that we really believe are best for you, because you spent your whole life telling us what's best for us, so we're going to tell you what's best for you. Black people are running this bitch. All right, so here's the deal. So basically, the black academics have a hit Twitter hashtag where they're talking about these microaggressions that they're going through. They're talking about the realities of what it means to live in someone else's system when you don't have the ability to override or to leave that system. So the reason that a lot of professional black people are actually among the least empowered in our society is because white people have kind of dangled this magic little trinket in front of you, to tempt you enough to let go of everything that you have. You're falling for the banana in the tailpipe, similar to to what your ancestors did with the civil rights movement. They're dangling this prospect of instant gratification, sort of instantly climbing to the top of the ladder, instantly having the nice office, instantly having the big salary, instantly having this validation and prestige that you're looking for, right? You're looking for them to validate you, right? That's why, when they give you the labels and titles, you feel better about yourself. And it's okay. I mean, I'm married to I'm marrying a full professor in academia, right? So she got tenure. A full professor means you got tenure and your work was so distinguished that they actually gave you another level of a promotion. But we have this weird balance, right? Like on one hand, I congratulate her as a black woman for her accomplishments because it's important to celebrate black women who achieve great things, right? We don't do that enough as men. But then also she celebrates me as the black man who was so empowered that white people ran away from me, that they got scared of me, that they actually, wanted to boot me out of their institution. And I wanted to leave. So it was kind of a mutual thing. There was no hard feelings. I wanted to go. Right. And so she celebrates what I do as an influencer and an impact person on my community. She celebrates the fact that I've helped hundreds of thousands of black people learn the basics of investing and owning homes and starting businesses and things like that, right? So there's a mutual respect, right? The house Negro respects the field Negro and vice versa. And while we certainly are proud of these achievements, like I'm really proud of her for the fact that these white people promoted her, we don't put too much stock in that. We don't put too much stock in that. And also we both have our own businesses, right? So as black professionals, one way that we all can benefit each other is we have to be able to respect each other's perspectives, right? So I think, so here's the deal. I would say that the best thing I was able to give Alicia was I said, these white folks are tripping on your job like they are on all of your jobs. A lot of y'all work with crazy white people. If you work with crazy white people, raise your hand. Maybe the pandemic was like relief for you because you got away from that for a while. And I said, these white folks are tripping. The racism is ridiculous. Some of the stuff that they did was insane. I had to go actually to her institution to defend a black male professor who was being harassed at a level that I just couldn't imagine. And I said, so you need a plan B. That's my point. My point in saying all of this that I've just said is that everybody needs a plan B, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't want your livelihood to be dependent on people who don't like you very much. So with these institutions, I can already tell you, I read through the article and they're going through the fact that these brothers and their names, let me find their names. I should give you their names. Let's see here. It should be, okay, here we go. Paul Harris and Tolu Odumosu. These are two guys. They look like smart brothers. I don't know them. And they're both at the University of Virginia. They're appealing their tenure decisions, and they're arguing that their work was not respected by their white colleagues. And that's 100% fundamentally true because your commitment to this white supremacist system, last time I checked, University of Virginia was not started by black people. Last time I checked, the majority of the people they hire are going to be white people. Last time I checked, the majority of the people that they promote are typically going to be white people. Black people at a lot of institutions, at a lot of universities, are allowed in. You're most likely to be allowed in as a black male if you're 6'8", 240 pounds, and can dribble a basketball. That's what makes white people find you interesting. That's what typically makes racist schools like UCLA, which has a horrific hiring record when it comes to black professors and even admission of black students. They're really terrible at that. But when it comes to the admission of black basketball and football players, it's like, hey, open sesame, doors wide open. And why is that? Well, because that's where the money's at, right? That's where they're allowed to do what white people have done for 450 years, which is to see, economic value in the relationship with black people. I mean, why do you think all these white people came from Europe over to Africa? They were like, okay, we want to be here because they got all the wealth. They have all the gold. There's gold on the shores of Ghana. That on the beach you can just pick it up. So all the European nations set up forts on the Gold Coast. All of them set up shop and said, we all going to come in here and we're going to milk this motherfucker, right? So the same way that the European nations set up the different forts on the Gold Coast to collect as much gold as possible, you then go to the hood, and wherever you see black basketball players, you'll see the same European nations in the form of Nike, in the form of Adidas, in the form of all these other athletic companies, in the form of Duke University, all setting up shop. Because they're all saying there's gold in them their hills. There's gold in them their hoods. There's gold in these black males. When I met Even companies like whether it's the Jordan brand or whatever, they see gold with the black male, and they're able to go and extract that gold. So that's what leads them to want to be connected to you. So black scholars have that disadvantage in the fact that you don't fit an adequate stereotype that makes them say, I see value here. So when you come in and you say, no, actually, I'm not a basketball player, I'm an intellectual like you, they're like, oh yeah, right, okay, sure, right? And then they say, okay, well, show me the fact, show me that you're an intellectual. And you say, well, I want to do research on African American males and why African American black boys are constantly put in special education by these white teachers. Well, then they're like, yeah, but that work isn't interesting to, it's not as relevant as the work of, Mr. Joe Blow white man who did some research that white people really love and approve of, something that they actually care about, right? He's saving whales, or he wrote research on puppies. White people love their dogs, right? And we think that that's just more valuable, or he was in the State Department with President Bush, and that makes him more relevant than you. So to some extent, what I believe happens in many cases, I know this happens, is that you're just playing this really rigged game where your cultural currency has less value than the cultural currency of white people, right? So you go in and you say, I want to be super black. I want to be, the blackest scholar ever. I want to do this great work for my community. And they basically look at you and they say, yeah, that's nice, but black people inherently are not as important as white people. So we'll only accept your black ass. We'll accept you despite the fact that you're black, not because you're black. Like, we'll bring you in if you become a black face, if you lend a black face to white work, but we're not going to bring you in if you're lending a black face to black work, right? So this article is in the InsideHigherEd.com, and basically it goes down with their tenure battle and everything else. And the university, of course, is being very standoffish. Of course, they don't want to be accused of racism, not in this particular environment. And I know the game really well because I remember going through that with Syracuse, University. And one of the things I would say is that, if you want to look at universities and check out their diversity, don't fall for the stupid pet tricks that they like to pull. Like when I was at Syracuse, I remember they came out and they said something like because they were actually a little embarrassed. They're not used to black people talking back and fighting back. So I just let them know. I said, look, I don't care if you blackball me. Like, I'm willing to fight you forever because I want to have my own business anyway. I'm going to be successful regardless because I'm not stoppable. I'm just that good at what I do. So just know, like, I'm balls to the wall. I'm all in. I'm ready to walk through the fire. I'm ready to die on this battlefield, so do not fuck with me. So basically, I remember that when they got really nervous, and I wanted that to happen. And one of the things that they did, when people start getting nervous, they started lying and things like that, right? So one of the things they did was they came out and they made this crazy statement. Like, they said something, I forgot, I think they said 30 or 40% of our faculty are black, right? And it was some crazy number. And one of my colleagues, a black professor, who she was in the struggle with me. It took her time to kind of come over to the darker side. At first, she thought white people were her friends, and then they fucked her too. And then the next thing you know how it is when you got that black person who really thinks that you are full of shit because you're too focused on racism and you're too radical, so they distance themselves from you and they don't want anything to do with what you're doing. But then when they find out like what it's like to make a deal with the devil, suddenly they want to get all assalamu alaikum on your ass, like they all black fist, black power, and they want to tell you about the racism. Boyce, let me tell you about the racism and the way these white people... And I'm sitting back like, yeah, I tried to tell your stupid ass 5 years ago, but you told me I was stupid. You told me I was seeing things. I was hallucinating, right? So anyway, but she called me and she said something like, she said, Boyce, she said, where are all these black faculty coming from? They said they had 30% of black faculty. Who are these black people? And what happened was, I believe that what they were trying to do was literally lump every non-white person into a category and say, this is how many black people we have I said, that's a big mistake. Like, that's a lie. Like, that's just not true. But nobody was going to really check them on that. But the fact that they were lying to protect themselves let me know. I said, okay, I've gotten under somebody's skin. I've got you thinking about who you are and what you're doing. I've got you looking in the mirror. I'm fucking with you. You're not going to fuck with me. And that's one of the things I think is really important as black people, is that I think we have to be empowered enough to really get them on their heels. Black folks spend our whole lives playing defense. We're always playing defense. We're always like trying to prove that we're perfect, right? And you can't win that motherfucking game. Stop trying to win the perfection game. So let me give you an example. So white people come along and they'll fire you because you were eating Cheetos on the job or whatever, right? Because they're like, well, according to the regulation 7642D, you're not allowed to eat Cheetos on the job. And you'd be like, damn, I really was eating them Cheetos, man. So shoot, and so what you'll do is you'll try to come back and use the perfect Negro defense. Like, you'll come back and be like, my record was perfect, and I had perfect evaluations, and I had the best credentials in the department, and I did this and I did that, and it's a hard game to play because you're probably going to lose, and the higher up you go up the level. Like, I was on a very high level academically. Like, most people who don't have a PhD from a really good university don't really understand just how tough it is at that, how thin the oxygen gets when you're like really at that level. It was really, really difficult to be, almost impossible to be perfect. So if you're playing the perfection game, what you don't understand is that in certain situations, they can always find something that they can use to defend or to justify their decision to let you go. When I was at Ohio State University working on my PhD, I remember that we had this big exam that you had to take. They were called comps. If you failed comps, you got booted out of the program. That's it. They didn't give a shit about your life, where you went, with your kids. They were just like, you got to go. How is it that before comps happened, we always knew who was going to pass and who was going to fail? I swear to God, every year before comps, everybody knew who was going to pass and who was going to fail. Well, how do you know who's going to pass and who's going to fail before the damn test even occurs? It's because you knew who was in good graces with the senior faculty and who wasn't in good graces. You knew who was in the cool kids club versus those who were not in the cool kids club. So the thing is, my point is that you can't really tie yourself into a game where you're trying to beat a rigged system. And this is maybe some game I can throw at you, because I learned this also by going on shows like Fox News. Like if you get on Fox News, Fox is really smart about locking you into a certain line of questioning that's going to make you look stupid no matter what answer you get. If you say yes, you'll look stupid. If you say no, you'll look like a criminal, right? So what you do is you back out of the question. You say, I'm not even going to answer that question. I'm going to change the subject. So with white folks, I'm telling you, when they're like, Negro, you're not good enough. We looked at the charts. You're unqualified here, or like my teachers did when I was a kid. When they would come to my mother, who wasn't very well educated. My mother was a single mom, 17 years old. She was a single mom till I was about 3. And that's when she got remarried. And so this young, my mother literally is like 23 years old coming into my elementary school trying to deal with these white women with master's degrees. And they're giving her charts and tables and graphs to prove that her son has all these issues, and without acknowledging their inherent racial bias and their extreme inability to identify black male talent in the first place, right? And you know what my mama did that I thought was brilliant? My mom was like, I'm not going to play that game with you. I'm not going to try to out-argue your charts. I'm not going to try to, do better statistical analysis than you, because I don't know statistics. But I do know my son. And I do know that he's not violent. He's not stupid. And I do know that if you try to put him on medication, or if you try to put him in special ed, I will be such a nail in your ass that you're going to regret the day you were born. I will go to your boss's boss, and your boss's boss's boss, and raise so much holy hell that I will make your life miserable. So you can go ahead and sign that paper if you want to. But just know that the battle's about to begin, because I'm not going to play that game with you. So I think that I think the best way to deal with white supremacy in some situations, not all, you don't want to be the ballistic Negro, but sometimes people really want to push you and test you and use your white supremacy against you. The fact that you lean on white people to tell you which way is up, what's up or down. Like even when you talk about the viruses or the economy or education, we always lean on white folks to be our ultimate consultants and our be all end all authorities on every fucking thing that involves our lives, and they've lied to you for hundreds of years because they know that they have that power over you. And I just will say to you that the most empowered response I ever got to with them was to say, rather than talk about my inefficiencies and my imperfections, which I know that they're there. My God, if anybody's flawed on this planet, it's definitely me. You guys have seen my flaws out loud. But I said, I was like, instead of focusing on the areas where I'm not perfect, how about we focus on the areas where you're not perfect? Instead of focusing on the areas where I'm not the best in this field or where I've come up short, let's talk about the things where you've come up short. Instead of putting the spotlight on me, we're going to put the spotlight on you and let you play the perfection game. And once I did that, I had them on their heels. I was like, okay, so because I would get these calls from these reporters when I was dealing with my tenure case with Syracuse, and they would call me and they'd be like, well, the university says that, you did this and the journals you published in were not, up to par or whatever, and that you had this in your record and you weren't I said, okay, cool. I said, how about this? I don't even care if I win this game. I'm willing to die on this battlefield. I don't really care if I get this job or not. I'm doing this for the people behind me, actually, for the black people that really need this job, because I don't want to be here anyway. I said, but let's assume that I'm not qualified. Let's assume that I'm just the shittiest Negro on the planet. So after we make that assumption that somehow I'm just not good enough, now let's turn the spotlight on them. Let's ask them, why is it that in 100 years of existence of your finance department, you've never promoted a single black person? Can you defend that? Why is it that if I go across your entire campus and I look at the percentages of tenured black professors relative to white professors, that the numbers are going to be incredibly embarrassing? And in fact, the majority of your departments have never promoted a black person, or better yet, don't have a single tenured black person in the entire department. Why don't you defend that? So rather than sitting around talking about me, let's talk about you. And that, honestly, that's a strategy that I think you want to think about. In poker, actually, I'm a pretty good poker player. I like poker because it's a game of psychology, strategy, and math. I don't like gambling. Gambling's a bad financial habit to get into, by the way. So just know, gambling's not good, but poker's kind of fun. And I've won some big poker tournaments, like with hundreds of people playing. I'm pretty good. Like it's just a fascinating game. And one of the things I learned in that game with poker and about strategy is that you're typically better off playing offense than you are playing defense. What white folks have over you, the reason they get you, the reason they're able to defeat you in many cases is because they always get you on your heels. They always get you playing defense. And anybody who's ever played football or basketball knows you can never score points on defense most of the time. You can maybe get an interception and run it back, right? But it's very, very difficult to score points when you're always playing defense. Most of the time, if all you're doing is playing defense, the best thing you can do is hope that maybe the game will end 0-0, right? But I don't want the game to end 0-0. I want the game to end Boyce Watkins 55, white people 12, right? I want to win. I want to win the game. I don't want to tie the game. And equality, to me, the whole conversation about civil rights and equality and integration is basically you fighting to tie the fucking game. I don't want to tie shit. Because I told you, I go back to my original premise that I just believe inherently, because I'm me, that African American people have something special in our DNA that makes us amazing, and I want to be as amazing as I can be. So I don't want to be equal to other races. I don't want to catch up with everybody else. I don't want to be included in your shit. I want to build our own shit. I don't want to tie with you. I want to defeat you. I want to win. I don't want to avoid powerlessness. I want to be powerful. Right, and so I would just say that at the end of the day, I'd rather be hated than be a hater, and I think that to some extent they have us in this little hater category where we sit around constantly mad, constantly reacting to what somebody else did. And I personally think that in your life you can be empowered and shape your own destiny and make a decision in advance that you're going to reach a certain pinnacle in your experience as a black person in this country and in the world. So be empowered. Play offense. Stop playing defense all the time. So with these scholars, here, look, these brothers, I don't know if they're qualified or not. For all I know, their work could be dog shit. I doubt it because they're at the University of Virginia. That's a great school, right? You don't get, it's hard to even get into the school, let alone get on the faculty. And what I would probably do is ask them something like this. I'd say, okay, I'm willing to accept your tenure decision on one condition. You pull out all the records of every white person who's ever gotten tenure at this campus, every white person, and prove to me that I am less qualified than every white person who's ever gotten that promotion. If you can prove that I'm less qualified than every single white person that's ever gotten that promotion, and then we're going to have people vote on it. We're going to get a committee, half white, half black, 50-50. And if that committee votes that I am less qualified than every white person that has ever gotten a promotion ever in the history of this campus, then I will walk away and you win, right? So I personally think that when I see stuff like this, I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, Virginia probably needs to promote some black professors. The other thing too, a lot of you go to college or have went to college, and one thing you might want to also pay attention to is that universities, unfortunately, a lot of them run just like penitentiaries, in the sense that if you think about a prison, or if you think about the NCAA or whatever, you could connect that to the origins of slavery. In slavery, black people were the ones who filled up the fields. Black people were the ones doing most of the work. Black people were the labor class. White people were the empowered class, right? They were the management class. So if I go and I look at NCAA, college basketball, college football, who's really doing the most of the labor? Like, who's really running that football up and down the field, getting CTE and brain damage at an early age, breaking limbs and all this other stuff? It's usually mostly black people, right? But who are the guys that are getting these, $12 million a year coaching contracts? It's the white guys, right? If you go to a prison, right? Who's filling up the penitentiaries? Right? It's the black guys. And who is actually making the money from the penitentiaries? It's the white folks, right? Whether you talk about the prison guards and the warden, to the community, the surrounding community, all the jobs that are created, right? And as well as all the other economic benefits that come from collecting money from black people who are coming up there to visit their relatives or whatever, right? So universities are similar. If you go to a college campus, again, you'll see a university that has almost, maybe 2%, 3%, 4% black faculty, but will have 80% black basketball players, right? Or maybe you'll even see at the student body level. And Syracuse did this a lot, where they will admit more and more black students. They did a good job with that. But if you went up the food chain and you started saying, well, who's teaching these black students? Who's making money from the presence of these black students who are all going into deep debt? So much student loan debt that they can't repay it. Most of the Syracuse University graduates that I taught through the years have not paid their student loans, right? So they're still paying massa for the opportunity to be educated by white people, right? Like, you will sacrifice your family wealth for the chance for you to have white people educate you. That's what makes you a white supremacist. Just own it. Just own it. It's a mental illness. We're all working through this right now. But if you go up the food chain and you say, okay, how many of your professors are black? And then you say, well, how many of your tenured professors are black? How many of your full professors are black? How many of your key decision makers are black? That's when the numbers start thinning out. So that's another little stupid pet trick that they do. Like, for example, Harvard University, when Elena Kagan was nominated by Barack Obama, your man Barack Obama nominated Elena Kagan for the Supreme Court. And now Elena Kagan was from Harvard, right? And she was a professor like me. So I know academia, so I was kind of evaluating her in terms of her hiring record and everything else. So here's what's interesting about Elena Kagan, right? They were sort of playing with the minds of black people and saying, oh, Elena Kagan's good for the black community because she has the Thurgood Marshall chair at Harvard University. She picked a chair named after a black person, so that somehow makes her Martin Luther King or whatever the fuck they thought I was going to believe. And I said, that's stupid. I don't care about that. I said, what is her relationship with the black community? How has she dealt with black students? How has she dealt with black people? What is her hiring record? So you looked at her hiring record. Here's what her hiring record was. In 6 years, this white lady had hired 32 faculty at Harvard University. Out of the tenure track, out of the 32 faculty that were hired, 30 of them were white males. One of them was a white female. One of them was Asian. Not one of them was black. Not one of them was brown. None of that, right? And but if you looked at Harvard University, they had they admitted a lot of black students, and they had brought in a lot of black, what they call adjunct professors. Adjunct professors are not the same as real professors. That's like comparing a wife to a jump off, right? A man's wife is not at the same level as a stripper he had sex with 8 years ago, right? Those are two different levels. So the adjuncts are like the stripper that he slept with while he was drunk in 2006. And his wife is the woman that he's committed to for the rest of his life. She has access to his bank account. She can tell him what to do. He answers to her on a daily basis. Those are different levels. There's levels to this shit. There's levels, right? So with professors, what universities started doing to get rid of the impression that they were racist and to take advantage of the fact that the general public doesn't know the difference between an adjunct, an assistant professor, a tenured professor, and a full professor, they started hiring lots of adjuncts. They were like, let's bring the Negroes in on the bottom rung of the chain so we can keep running this bitch. Because it's all about power at the end of the day. That's why really your long-term solution is you need black-owned institutions. That's what you need. So while white folks are pretending that they love you and sitting and doing black power fists and getting on their knees and begging for your forgiveness for slavery, tell them we want a few $1 trillion so we can actually have independent black-owned schools, so we can have independent black-owned businesses, so we can have independent black-owned universities that are fully funded. Give us a black-owned university right now with a $500 million endowment, and I can find a bunch of really empowered, really sharp black professors who can run that bitch tomorrow. Like really, like we could really do this, right? So the point is that the little trick that they played was they would bring in, and Elena Kagan did this at Harvard, is they would bring in a lot of black people in the bottom rung. Adjuncts have no power. Adjuncts don't matter. Adjuncts, I'm saying they don't matter. They're very smart people. But, when we would have faculty meetings, our goal, honestly, in the faculty meeting was people were like, okay, let's find all the shit that we don't want to do, and we're going to let the adjunct do it so we can go over here and focus on being scholars. Because there was a clear hierarchy to this, right? So ultimately, the reason I spent time talking about these brothers' situation, I spent time talking about a lot of other stuff because it's about you. It's not really about me. It's not about them. It's really about you in terms of us understanding sort of the world that we're living in. I brought it up because, these universities that many of you are in debt to. In fact, how many of you, raise your hand, give me a yes if you are right now still paying student loans. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Everybody's paying them. Give me a yes. Black people are in such horrible shape when it comes to student loan debt. You bougie Negroes, you black professionals with all the letters behind your name, like me, all of us, the student loan debt has absolutely decimated our ability to build family wealth. So you've engaged in what Dr. Claude Anderson refers to as the doctrine of unequal exchange. You gave them all your family wealth. They gave you a fucking piece of paper. That's what they gave you. They invented a piece of paper and said, I'm gonna create this thing called a credential because you're white supremacists and because you need our validation. We're going to create a piece of paper called a college degree, and we're going to charge you $200,000 for that piece of paper, maybe $100,000 if you're lucky, and you're going to spend the rest of your life like little fucking sharecroppers repaying the debt that you owe for this artificial piece of paper. So process this for a minute, black people. Process this. You gave me $200,000 of your family wealth that you could have used to buy real estate, that you could have used to create a business that generates streams of income, that you could have used to buy shares of stock in companies. You could have done a lot of stuff with that. So you gave me $200,000. I gave you a piece of paper. Who's winning in that transaction? Who's going to walk away with the most cash in that transaction 99% of the time? It's going to be me. You gave me money. I gave you a piece of paper. We got to wake up to this. It doesn't mean you don't go to college. I'm not saying all college is a big scam and it's stupid. No, I mean, that's silly. That would be a ridiculously simplistic thing to say. But I am here to tell you that it is a bit of a game, and it is based on this idea that somehow you really truly believe that being educated by white people makes you just a better human being. And so just, understand the game. Let's grow out of this. Let's process this in the right way. I'll tell you, my dream is not to have more black people accepted into the University of Virginia. I don't give a shit about that. My dream is not to have more black professors hired by the University of Virginia. I don't give a shit about that. That's going to happen naturally because white people will eventually see the brilliance of blackness, and they're going to see the massive wealth they can build by extracting more of your labor. So that's a natural decision they're going to make. So that's why, it's correct to make the argument that racism is costly to white people as well as black people, because if I'm white, if I'm a white supremacist, if I'm a Klansman, I would literally go to the other white people and say, look, I know y'all want to be racist and stuff, but black people are pretty amazing. They work their asses off and don't ask for anything in return hardly, and they're really, really smart. They know that they have to be twice as good to get half as much, so you can have them come in twice as good and pay them half as much, and you can make a big profit off your capitalist system. So even if I'm David Duke and I'm the biggest Klansman, I'm the grand wizard of that shit, I would literally be telling other white people, like, look, okay, be racist on the weekends, but during the week, we're going to go hire as many black people as possible because black people are a wonderful source of labor. We want to connect with black people as much as possible because black people are a wonderful source of income and revenue for our businesses, right? Let's go love the Negroes because black people will hook you the hell up because their self-esteem is so bad that they will do wonderful things for people who care nothing about them, right? They will give you their vote. They will give you their money. They will give you their labor. So be racist on the weekends. Don't be racist during the week because this is our cash cow. This is how we can get paid off these hoes. Like, so that's how they look at you. They're like, we can get paid off these hoes. So I think for black people, so my dream is not an integrationist dream. I'm not saying that I want to stay away from white people. I probably dislike white people less than most of you do. Most of you walk around mad and constantly triggered by white people because you care about what they think. Maybe you're triggered by white people because you have to work for them. I don't work for white people. I don't care what they think. So I really I don't even know them well enough anymore to really know how to dislike them. It just doesn't matter, right? But what I am trying to say to you is that I don't have an integrationist dream. I have an empowerment dream. I have a dream. I have an ownership dream. I don't have a civil rights dream. I have a Malcolm X nationalist, we should own all of this shit kind of dream. I have a dream that black people one day will be able to run schools that educate our kids. Schools as great as Freedom Home Academy International, which on a shoestring budget is educating children 10 times better than the Chicago public school system. I have a dream that schools like that will have, $50 million, $100 million a year in funding to educate as many black people as possible. I have a dream that black people will create our own jobs, that black unemployment will be as much a function of black job creation as it is of white job creation. So I have a dream that we will create our own jobs in the future because we own so many businesses that we're able to control everything economically in our communities. I have a dream that black people will love black people enough that we will support those businesses and support those schools so that they can be successful. I have a dream that we police our own communities. I don't need a bunch of white cops coming into communities to shoot black people. I want black cops coming in our communities so they can love black people and protect and serve black people, right? Because in order for them to protect and serve you, they got to care about you. The reason they don't protect and serve you is because they're not here to protect you from anything. They're here to protect white people from you. So that's why they don't protect and serve you, because they don't love you. They don't value you. So those are my dreams. My dreams are not, these like kumbaya, we shall overcome, fake ass Dr. King dinner every year. Let's hire 10 more black people. I don't care about that. I have a bigger dream, and it's not a dream that's going to fit in the box or in the tiny box of small-minded people. It's not a dream that even fits in the year 2020. This is a 2120 dream. This is a year 2200 dream in the sense that we ain't even really ready as a community to even dream that big. Some of you are, a small percentage of you are, but a lot of you are still hoping that white people will decide that they like you. Like, you're giddy over the fact that white people have pretty much said, I love you, and when they should have been saying that all along, because you are special. They should have loved you from the jump. Having black people, the best of us, some of us are a little bit mentally ill, but having the best of us around to aid and support the development of this country is one of the greatest blessings that America can ever have. So the fact that they've suddenly woken up to the amazement and the brilliance of black people, that's just something that was supposed to happen naturally. At some point, I want to pursue real power. And there's no room in a world chasing equality for a dream that's focused on black power. Some people would even try to call that racist, but I don't call it racist. I call it life. You got to compete, black people. Learn how to compete. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. I wish these brothers at University of Virginia the best. Their names are Paul Harris and Tolu Odumosu. And they're going through a tenure battle. The article's on Inside Higher Education, so InsideHigherEd.com. So if you are a scholar or interested in this stuff, you may want to read the article. Alicia pointed it out to me this morning because she's a full professor at her university, and so we're into the academia thing. We care, we respect that, right? But overall, this is really about you. So I want you to be powerful. I want you to be strong. Type hashtag B1 in the chat. B1 means you're black first before you're anything else. Also, B1 means that in order for us to succeed, we must find a way to be one so we can elevate. Last but not least, Black Movie Night is on the 25th. So if you'd like to come to Black Movie Night, you can register for free at blackmovienight.net. We're going to watch The Black Love Blueprint, which is a production of Boyce Watkins Films, and you can watch it for free. So register with us, and it's also just fun. We just have these great conversations. So go to Blackmovienight.net. Blackmovienight.net. That's what it is. So yes, control the resources, D. I agree with you, sister. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Have a good day. I'll see you guys soon. Be good. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce